thinking about?
Okay, welcome back to Fright Flicks and Killer Theories for Slasher. I'm Mike.
And I'm Nate.
Alright, in this episode we're going to be going over episode 3. Now, these episodes all have like kinky little titles. This one's something like Fire Burneth Up Wood, I believe is what it's called, and that has to do with greed, if I am correct.
Greed, possibly. Didn't they touched on envy? Like thematically,
burn. Yeah, that makes. I mean, I did all this research. It's in the first video or whatever. So okay, yeah, it actually makes more sense. Envy.
It's just sort of general biblical rhubarb to throw in. It sounds cool. It's very dramatic. It sounds cool. It ties in to that biblical punishment theme. I guess the it's not like it was a surprise. It was leading to this, but. This episode, it was really heavy-handed with the executioner isn't just some sort of mad slasher. He's not a Michael Myers or a Jason Voorhees. He's a serial killer with a pathology, and he's punishing people, for their sins. So,
right.
I mean, our final girl goes so far as to specifically state out loud, "I'm safe."
Sure.
I have nothing to be punished for. That's why he keeps not killing me.
Which is that's bullshit, but whatever. Yeah, and it had all those like if you notice when we talked about the other ones and just the general pacing of TV shows and movies and stuff, it's like, yeah, episode 4, this is where the character gets involved 25 minutes into a movie. She's like, I am going to find out. I'm going after him now, It's like, it's in every fucking, These are just the things you have to look for, the roadmaps. Anyway, episode specific. So we start a prom night 1968, which again I liked. I mean, it seems that in our 80s slashers we would always get our 60s flashback, so I just took it as that. Yeah. And so I was excited about that.
Well, and not to mention all of these recent shows that we're talking about, Scream Queens, there's always that generational, X number of years ago, Y happened, and now the result is Z. And it's great. I mean, I'm not pointing it out to shit on it. I'm just pointing it out.
Right. Well, I mean, every slasher, you wrote the book on slashers, every slasher has the previous evil, you know? And what I thought was cool about this is now there's 2 previous evils. Are we going to get more? I hope not. This is good enough to go, whatever. But it's 1968. Then the first episode was Halloween 88. So it was 20 years afterwards. So is the original killing based on this? And now it's the sins of the father, which I'm sure that's line specifically will come up.
That'll be an episode title. Yeah,
exactly. But anyway, the prom stuff, I thought it was pretty good. I thought it had that really good sense of something bad, of course, is going to happen before they even show the girl on the bridge. They show the girl on the bridge, and I think they show her with the cinder block from the beginning. So you're like, all right, I know where this is, fuck.
Right. Well, and they showed it at the end of last week's episode as well.
I know.
So they
that's their own fault, though. I'm trying to take it as a...
They do have an endings problem, which we'll get into later. But
but anyway, so I thought it was good. It was a good amount of tension.
It was a hot opening.
Yeah, how bad is this going to be? You know what I mean? How nasty. And again, this is what I like about the show, is that was good, that was interesting. We got our gory moment with the eye flicking and, the brain. But, it takes responsibility for it. The chick didn't just, die and it squished the head and...
Yeah.
She's still in a coma, and, this is how... It's cool. It's a little bit of how real life would deal with these horrible things happening. So anyway, I like the beginning. Thought it was pretty good. The beginning takes place, spoilers, we already been through this, as we find out in the end, it's the grandmother who was up on the bridge, pushes it over onto the girl who's now in the coma years later, which was a pretty sweet, part scene going on. The girl in the front seat driving, I assume, is the old lady.
Yes.
And I only assume because I'm pretty sure we didn't hear that for a fact.
No, but the grandma did say to her, I
wish it would have fallen to the...
A few inches to the left,
Okay,
which
so
would have crushed the driver's
Yeah,
head.
okay, so that is some confirmation. And then the other guy is her husband now, who's the mayor, who's the guy she was having sex with.
Yeah.
Later on. Two people in the back, we don't know who they are. Wah, wah, wah. Anyway, because why else would they be there? Unless that's the reason why she was in the front. Anyway, could be something, could be nothing. So we get them, then it jumps forward, and she's in the coma, like I said. I liked all that. And then we get into the final girl's story and everything, and we find out that Heather Peterson, which is the crazy lady with the missing daughter, got locked up for the old lady's murder.
Yes.
Which is what's her name wanted, I would have to say.
Yeah.
But anyway, then Dylan they all want to leave. Dylan says he's staying for, it seems like the girl convinced him.
Yeah, to stay for chase the big story.
Yeah, so it's a little, I like this guy Dylan so much. Like, even if the show, maybe the writing's trying to make him out to be an asshole, he always he always seems genuinely, like he's making a genuine...
He's good,
decision.
he's present. I hope they give him something meaty to do, because
Sure.
a lot of this episode was good, but serviceable.
Yeah.
All right, it moved things forward enough. It just wasn't exciting,
Yeah, it's laying some more groundwork, and I hope it's not laying too many false trails. It felt like a very false trails episode.
What it felt like to me was not an island episode, but it did have its own little self-contained dramatic story arc about the grandmother.
Yeah.
She starts out, and then she's coming back to town for redemption, and then she ends up running into the executioner who, ironically kills her. And and there you go. And then the upshot, the final girl, from her perspective, if this is a movie, she just finds the body, and we don't get that little story arc, but that's what you get with TV. You get a little more depth on the victims.
Yeah.
So, so like I said, I wouldn't say that it's an island episode, but like it.
No, I know what you mean.
That arc did feel like self-contained, and I like that, where they paid something off. They showed a story of this character from beginning to end.
Yeah, so. No, I liked it. It reminded me of Beware of Young Girls from Scream Queens, which is kind of self-contained. We got a mystery, who's the girl on the bridge, and then by the end of the episode, we learn the answer to it. So it was, it's a good little self-contained thing. So back into the meat of the episode. Then, we find out that she wants to leave. She's going to end up staying because the paper supposedly won't give him 2 weeks, whatever. And then her and her grandmother, they go off. They get run off the road by, it seems like that redneck's truck, crash into the woods, and then they just go walking off into the fucking woods. But whatever, I can deal with that kind of shit. Yeah, then she finds her way, gets tied to the cinder block, thrown in the water, she finds her, blah, blah, blah. Pretty good episode. It moves really fast. I mean, I liked it. Again, production value. Good. The only thing that's ever tends to suck about it is the fucking executioner still looks silly. Yeah. And he was in daylight this time. I gotta give him credit. I like when they show mass killers in daylight.
Yeah.
A lot of things don't bother with that.
He's still condom head.
Yeah.
It's hard to shake that.
Exactly. One aspect I did like about the drowning, though, is it's like measured how deep it was.
So she could see him.
Yeah.
It was a great drowning. Yeah. It really was.
I thought that was pretty mean.
Craftsmanship.
Yeah. And then we get a bunch of subplot with this gay dude. So I guess he's going to be something. Being that this whole if he dies in the next one, a lot of this episode was wasted because there was a lot of this guy having to deal with the repercussions.
Well, and whoever the scary quote unquote redneck guy is,
whatever.
It was, as much as I like the whole grandma thing.
Yeah,
like this. I don't know if it's the character, if it's the actor, it's both, but it was entirely false. I didn't buy any of it, and it got in the way of me. I was just like, come the fuck on.
I was like, you
better give me my $250,000 or else.
Yeah, and he was Anne Heche in what's it called? I Know What You Did Last Summer.
Yeah.
Just that redneck out in the woods who's like, okay, red herring, my God. Like, the fact that they ended the episode on such a big red herring, it's either one, that's actually where they're going, in which case lame, or two, it's like, that's kind of a cheat to end it.
It's terrible. They're bad with endings.
Yeah.
Like when they're plotting out these story beats, you got to find that rhythm and it doesn't have to be a cliffhanger. It doesn't have. You just want to have an interesting ending, and they're going for that, but they're just a little bit off.
Yeah, whatever. Anyway, yeah. So the ending was by far the weakest part. So anyway, what did we think of the episode, like, altogether? Give it a little bit of a rating, talk about it, and then we'll do killer theories.
Oh, last week I went as high as a 7, and this I'm fluctuating between a 5 and a 6. I liked some of it, but some of it was really off. I'll give this one a 5.
Okay. I'll give it a 6. I agree, but I still think overall it's not as good as the last episode, and it's probably, I would assume, the show's going to get better.
Right.
But in context of all shows all together and some of the shit we've watched recently, as far as TV horror, it's pretty damn good. It's very competent. I'm at least happy that it's competent.
Absolutely.
More than competent.
I don't really have a lot, I said my piece, like my negative things to say about it. It's not big, they're not big. I know the show can do better, but then again, with an ongoing series, particularly a horror one, you got to slow down and lay groundwork sometimes. It's part of it. Yeah. You can't go balls out every week. Mm-hmm. When you do, then your American Horror Story, where like you run out of ammo like halfway through the second week.
I much more prefer it this way. Yes.
Right. Hopefully, since we've got the same creative team throughout, they know exactly where they're going, and even if there are some off episodes, they're in service to the overall story. So
yeah. Okay, so that is a 5 from Nate and a 6 from Mike on episode 3, As Fire Burneth Wood, or Envy, as it were. Yeah, actually, just one last thing on that was that what freaks me out is what I was talking about last week, where I was like, they got the Brad Dourif, Hannibal Lecter thing. Mm-hmm. This is the best thing they have going for them. And they didn't use it until the very end. It's like, oh, come on. You need to stick with this. This is what your bread and butter is going to be, man. We've seen all the rest of this stuff. We've seen it before.
But honestly, with that setup, seeing him once an episode, like, they need to have him interact with other characters more, because she can't possibly go to that jail and see him more than she already does. So...
but that's the thing. He could interact with other characters. That's what would make him interesting.
They need to step that up. And you know what? Are we moving on to killer theories yet? Speaking on that guy?
Yes.
Starting to think that maybe he didn't kill those people at the beginning like we were led to believe.
Yeah.
Even if he was found there with the baby, that there was more going on. Because what I loved about the opening to this series was it was like this cut and dry, very well done, slick slasher sequence. Mm-hmm. And it's pretty straightforward, but what if it isn't?
Oh, no, you could at least probably count on the fact that there was 2 killers that night. You know what I mean? It's like he's going to end up being the father. There were 2 killers, let's say, that night. It's going to get a little bit more complicated.
And I may be wrong, because I only watched it the one time, but it seems like he is the only character on the show that consistently refers to the executioner as he or she. Everyone else has started referring to the executioner in the masculine.
Sure.
Which only makes sense, that I would too. And I do. He is a condom head.
Sure.
He's the one character that doesn't. He's the one character that always says he or she.
Yeah.
Don't know if it means anything, but it might.
Yeah, exactly. It might. That reminds me of it's my secondary killer theory. I have 3 things that I want to touch on. One would be I'll just get my secondaries out of the way. First, one, I think it would be really interesting with the prom night thing with 1988, with the old lady keeps coming back, who's married to the mayor, and
Right.
the mayor is working his way into stuff, and that it's like, I would be down for an old lady being a fucking serial killer. Like, that sounds good to me. Like, that's something I wouldn't expect. Obviously, I expect it. But that's why I kind of, when I finished the episode, I was like, you know, she's in it just enough, you know, where it's like, remember this face. And she always has she always has, like, an opinion. She's deep into, like, everything. You know what I mean? And she seems like she could. And at the beginning, she's like, "Oh, I don't like rock and roll," when she was little, and that. So she's been through some traumatic. She has all the makings of a serial killer.
She totally seemed like a bitch.
Yeah, she has all the makings of a serial killer, being that she's like overly religious and doesn't like Mick Jagger and blah 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 blah. So I just think it would be cool for a serial killer be an old lady. Which, I mean, I guess Friday the 13th, but whatever. That's been so long. No one has done that since. So I think it would be cool. I'm going to keep my eye on her. I think that would be very interesting. The other one thing that I noticed, which was, I thought it was a little heavy-handed, but maybe it wasn't, is yours, Cam, is, what's her name, Heather Peterson, when she gets let out or whatever, she starts getting all fucking, like, soothsayer out of nowhere, but whatever. And she's all like putting hands up on people and stuff, and she's like, she says something to the one guy, she's like, "You can't see the truth," and then turns to him and says something like really fucking, she's like, "Mask," or whatever, and he just gives her like this like eerie look. I'm like, okay, come on, like, we all saw that, like, what is that supposed to be, you know? So it's like, that could be, because it didn't really do anything else with it,
right?
That could be an indicator that it is Cal, and for some reason this lady, because she's automatically a soothsayer or something, she can tell.
Right, you know, because crazy people have powers when it's convenient.
Yeah. So what are your thoughts on that?
Well, you know, he was my pick right out of the gate. And,
so it's not anymore?
No, I'm sticking with him. Like,
okay,
I agree, it really jumped out at me.
Did it? Okay, yeah.
I'm like, yeah, okay, so does she see it, or are they just throwing that in there to make her seem crazy? Obviously, that was part of it. I don't know how obvious it was supposed to be. So, but yeah, when something is so, what seems to be obviously done as a clue. But
you want, actually, one thing, making fun of the show again, because I'm about to start getting into my main killer theory again, is when the grandmother's like, "You didn't think I'd come back to this town packing heat," or what? So fucking, and then gets like, I was like, come the fuck on.
Which was followed up by one of my least favorite, if not my all-time least favorite, like, accepted horror movie trope, where if a character on screen can't see anything that the camera can't see. If something is off camera, the character can't see it. She's spinning around in a circle with a gun, and then he jumps her from behind.
Yeah, I know.
She couldn't have seen him because he was off camera.
Yeah. There's no such thing as, like, leaves rustling and
I don't know, pet peeve of mine, but I fucking hate that.
But I have a thing about that. Okay, so my killer theories is I still, of course, I can't help it. I still think it's Sarah. I still think it's Sarah. Yeah. Because, just, again, you look at the looks when it's like, it's Heather Peterson or whatever, and you got that one reporter who's, like, asking the questions that usually would be reserved for Sarah's character. If she wasn't implicated. You know, those words need to be said by somebody. And they're like, shit, we can't actually give those words to Sarah. So they just threw in this random other character to say it.
Yeah.
If you notice, they usually... and just the looks on her face of being like, oh, blah, 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 blah. And then, yeah, she leaves town, but, like, you know, doesn't get very far. But again, it could be the whole thing where she's, like, doesn't know that she's got this other half to her personality, which would be pretty bad. But whatever. And so that made sense to me, that part, because she says, oh, I tried to kill myself. So now we know that about her, how damaged she is from all of this. And then later in the episode, she says, oh, well, I'm not going to be punished because I didn't do anything wrong. It's like, no, trying to kill yourself, as far as this biblical guy, he's going to care about that. So no, you're not safe. And again, Brad Dourif's like, you weren't safe out there. Why do you care about my well-being? I can't tell you until episode 6.
Right.
Stop asking me. I can't tell you. It's got to be a surprise. But anyway, so they go out into the woods, and then they get separated somehow.
Yes.
We don't see how, but they just get fucking separated.
They're separated.
Anyway, so she tells her the story, and she gets really upset. So now the mom dies, or the grandmother dies, because she just heard her confession, and she's all about punishing the wicked. Mm-hmm. So that's why the grandmother just dies out of nowhere. That's why she's magically not around for any of it. That's why she doesn't get shot, because the mom's going to shoot anybody, grandmother, who comes around. The only person she wouldn't shoot is her, jumping her.
Yeah.
And then the gun drops. She picks up the gun, then goes after her. So yeah, the only thing that doesn't, it all, I think, makes sense as far as all that goes. And she will even punish her grandmother. That's how, like, fucking crazy she is. And then that's only reiterated.
Yeah, it makes enough sense.
Yeah, it's only reiterated by the fact that she goes and tells on her grandmother to the old lady and whatever. She's
right.
like, she feels like she has to make everything right in this town.
Yeah.
It's like,
oh, and by the way, she also banged your husband. Yeah. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to upset you. Oh, really?
Oh, Jesus. Is there any way it could be my... Anyway, yeah, just little things like that, but again, what are you going to do? And then we had the crazy guy at the beginning who will probably come back into it in some form, but he can't be anything major. That's just her paranoia building higher and higher. Like, somebody has to mention that that painting that she drew, but it can't be a main character, because then it would stick in their mind. Mm-hmm. Oh, this bitch is painting. So somebody had to point it out, just her. So anyway, and then the cop sitting out front.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like, okay, well, we've seen this a million times. Nothing against that, but we've seen this a million times. So somebody's got to kill the cop. She just goes out, kills the cop, goes and hides, which is a Halloween reference. I like that. Mm. And then goes and hides inside, and then Cam shows up, which it could be Cam, but that's Billy Loomis. Where are you? What happened? It's like, no, she went down, killed the person, then went and hid in the closet. So when he came, she'd be like, oh, God.
Yeah. It's possible.
Of course it's possible, man. But that's the thing. It's possible.
Like I said, it makes enough sense, you know? Just like Cam Henry. Sure, it makes enough sense.
Yeah.
Well,
exactly.
See how it plays out.
Yeah. Okay, so my killer theory is still going to be Sarah. And I'm not going to go anywhere near Cam, because I'm just going to leave that to you.
Yeah.
And my secondary would be the old lady. I like the old lady, but that's not my pick. I like that idea.
Yeah, definitely. All right, so overall, it was an interesting episode, and it was definitely worth checking out. If you enjoy horror or slasher movies, you should probably go out of your way and try and check out this show, Slasher. It's fun.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But while we got you here, did we want to do Scream Queens?
That'll be a separate video.
Separate video? Okay.
Yeah, so if you guys are interested in all the Scream Queens Season 2 news and what we think about it, that will be a separate video coming up very soon here.
All right, and we'll be back next week for a review of Slasher Episode 4.
All right, and we'll see you guys next time here on Fright Flicks. See you later, guys.